Hi there, I'm Michael Parker with Avid, the marketing manager for Light Performance Products, which includes synthesizers. And today we're introducing our new M-Audio Venom virtual analog synthesizer. So it's brand new at the show, and I want to tell you guys a little bit about the background. So basically, this is the first ever M-Audio synthesizer. We're known for MIDI controllers, and of course, Avid's known for sound design, virtual instruments, and everything. So basically, we're bringing all that together with our very first synthesizer. So it's a 12-voice virtual analog synth, and it's based on sampled oscillators from a lot of classic synthesizers. So it'll give you those really good bread and butter sounds, the basses, the pads, the analog type sounds. But where Venom really kind of takes off in a different direction is really aggressive, kind of edgy sound design that we put under the hood. It's got a really powerful synth engine. There's really a lot of in-depth synthesis stuff you can get into. So right here on the top panel we have the performance controls. So basically, this gives you access to the 30 most important parameters for performance. So you've got things like filter cutoff. You've got a channel strip with volume and pan and effect sends. You've got your filter envelopes and LFOs, everything that you need for tweaking on the fly right here on the top panel. You got a 49-key bed with full-size keys, so you can play with two hands and really get into the sounds and performing. And it also comes with a really powerful software editor called Vizix Venom. And Vizix works with Venom and allows you to store patches, to access all the parameters that we have under the hood. You can get really deep and access all the modulation routings, all the really in-depth synthesis parameters, so you can create sounds from scratch. So that's basically an overview of Venom. It's shipping today, so it's going to be available in stores pretty much immediately. It's going to street at $4.99. And I'd like to introduce Taiho Yamada, who's the product designer for Venom, and he can kind of give us an overview of the synth engine and what its capabilities are.
All right. So it's a traditional sort of analog configuration. We have 3 oscillators, and these oscillators have waveform display. You can see actually this is the LFO section. We're on the oscillator section. You can see the oscillator wave shape, and we have a list of the different oscillator waveforms. We use a 2-letter initial to sort of indicate the manufacturer. I can't tell you the manufacturer names because of trademark issues, but some of them you could probably guess, like MG or OB.
Vintage clones.
Yeah, right. So the synthesis functions in the oscillators available are FM on oscillator 1, wave shaping on oscillator 1, and you can use sync on oscillators 2 and 3. And then there's a ring mod available between oscillators 1 and 2. We have some special parameters for reintroducing some of the analog variants, the life of the analog oscillator. You have a start phase parameter that will randomize the starting phase of each oscillator. And you have a drift parameter that randomizes the pitch. And you can either you can dial it in, or you can choose not to and get a more digital sound out of it. It's pretty flexible. We also have a bunch of voice parameters like unison, poly and mono modes, glide, portamento, and we have a multi-mode filter, and it's 12 dB and 24 dB. And at the beginning of the filter, we have a pre-filter boost knob, and this is where a lot of the character of Venom comes from. There's a tube saturation limiting algorithm at the beginning of the filter, and so you can crank that pre-filter boost and get some overdrive happening into the filter. We have 3 envelopes, and the envelopes are AHDSR. They're basically like ADSR envelopes, except between the attack and decay stage, you have a hold parameter where it can stay at maximum for the amount of time that you program.
Is that like a second sustain or a loop?
It is like it's
or
like
a time sustain.
Time. It's a time. Yeah, it'll sustain at that point for a certain amount of time that you have, and then it'll decay to the sustain stage. As long as you're still holding the note, it'll sustain, and then it'll release. Right. This page that we're looking at here is the LFO page, and we have 3 main LFOs, and then we have one that's available for tremolo and AutoPan. In the main LFOs, you have a decent amount of waveforms to select and choose from, and then you can also tempo sync the LFOs, and it'll give you a note value for the sync. What do you call it? The sync amount, not the sync amount, but the sync. Sorry, it's the value, I guess.
So will that allow it to kind of sort of sync, randomly sync?
It's not randomly sync. It's synchronized to the global tempo.
Okay.
And we have a tap tempo on the top panel that you can tap along with whoever you're playing with. Or, you can also set the tempo in the display.
Ah, okay.
We have on this page also insert effect parameters, and you can choose different types between distortions, compressors, auto-wahs, or reducer effect, which is the bit reducer and the decimator. We have a bunch of channel parameters here, like the send effects amount and direct amount. You can actually get a fully wet sound if you turn down the direct signal and just run it through the reverb. We have a channel EQ and a master EQ. So there's a lot of flexibility for EQing the sound after the fact. I'm going to bounce to the end. The last page has the aux effects on it. On aux effect 1, you have a reverb and a delay, and the delay is also tempo syncable. And then you have on aux effects 2 a chorus, a flanger, phaser, and a short delay like a resonator. We also see the arpeggiator pattern here, and you can change the arpeggiator modes at this page. There's a standard arpeggio, which when you hold down a chord, it'll just play through the notes that you're holding. But we also have a phrase arpeggio that's good for like transposing bass lines, and we have a drum arpeggio mode that is good for not transposing. It'll just play back your drum pattern.
Or any loop or anything.
Right, it's looping MIDI notes. So let's go back to this page that we skipped over before. This is the mod matrix. There are 16 mod routes, and you have a list of, oops, I hit the wrong thing. You have a list of sources, and these include the envelopes and LFOs, and also the physical controls on the keyboard. And then you have a list of destinations, and these are like the oscillator pitches and LFO rates, filter. And then you see down here, there's also a way to route one modulation route to another modulation route. So you can actually get some pretty serious modulations happening.
So does that use the sum of the modulation to modulate the next thing?
Yeah, right. And then if we look over in multi-mode, we see how the parts are set up in the multi-patch. We can see the splits and how they're layered. I can grab the split points and move them around pretty easily. We can also grab the velocity range and make a velocity split. And then we have ways to enable and disable the physical controls for each part. So if you want to have a lead and a pad and a split, you could have the wheels affecting the lead and not affecting the pad, and the sustain pedal affecting the pad and not affecting the lead. And then we have some voice parameters here that are overrides where you can change poly sounds into mono sounds and vice versa. A few other things here like tuning. We have an arpeggiator page where you can choose the arpeggiators for each part. They're all independent. And then we have the page for the effects, and you can see graphically the mix for each part with the volume, the direct send level, and the effect sends. And you can actually even grab the display and edit them at that point. So that's an overview of the editor and of the synth engine. And did you want to get some video of playing?
Yeah, that would be great.
All right. So I want to get into playing some of these multis because there's a lot of things that you can do in real time. So I'm going to play this one multi and show you how to tweak the performance controls. And there are 6 rows of performance controls. There's a filter row, an oscillator row that has like ring mod and FM on it. 2 envelope rows, one for the filter envelope, one for the amplitude envelope. An LFO row, and then a channel strip row that does like volume panning and effect sends. I'm going to latch the arpeggiator so that I can actually tweak the knobs. There's a lot of things that you can do in real time. I'm going to show you also how you can change the patterns while it's playing. We have a deferred load on the pattern switches, so it'll wait until the next measure before it switches over, so it always stays musical. Again, I'm going to latch the arpeggiator.